When Republicans tell you what they plan on doing, you should believe them. And in this case, they have introduced a pretty horrifying national Don't Say Gay bill, which they've titled the Stop the Sexualization of Children Act of 2022. Now, as you guys can imagine, in the current iteration of Congress where Democrats hold power and control, this bill isn't gonna pass, but there's a point in them pushing for it now. It's to send a message to the American people and more importantly to their voters that this is what they wanna do once they gain power. Now, here's what is actually in the bill. The bill would prohibit the use of federal funds to teach children about sexually oriented material, as well as any topic involving gender identity, gender dysphoria, transgenderism, sexual orientation, or related subjects. The bill defines children as anyone under 10 years old. Any organization that violates the measure more than once within a 5-year period will lose access to all federal funding. Okay, so I wanna mention something because it's the same trick that was used when it came to Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. They specifically mention and cite children, right? And then they give you the age of 10 and younger. It would impact, talking about these issues in front of children who are 10 years or younger. But understand that, like, I have a niece, one of my nieces has 2 moms, and she's under 10, she loves her moms, and sometimes there are assignments in class where students share about their families. And so if my niece wants to share information about her family and how much she loves her moms, what if other students in the class who don't understand what having 2 moms is, what if they ask questions? What is the educator supposed to do in that situation? Shut it down and make someone like my niece feel terrible about the fact that she has 2 mothers who love her and provide everything she could possibly need? I just don't, it's just a hateful bill that the majority of Americans actually are not supportive of. But let me continue. So Alejandra Caballero writes, universities, public schools, hospitals, medical clinics, etc., would all be defunded if they host any event discussing LGBTQ people and children discussing LGBTQ people and children could be present. So anywhere where they could be present. The way they define sexually oriented material simply includes anything about the LGBT community. Further, the pretext in this bill is clear. They will troll the media about the bill being about stripping or drag queen story hour. In reality, the way the law is defined, it could apply to a school that has a screening of Buzz Lightyear, which is actually a really good point because there's been a lot more, there's been a more inclusive nature in programming as of late. And so if they make the mistake of showing a movie that might have a gay character in it, they literally risk losing funding.
Yeah, so she made a number of great points, and I want to tell you how dangerous this bill is. So first off, she's absolutely right about the sleight of hand. That's a classic Republican trick. So they say for kids under 10, you should not show sexually oriented teachings of any sort, right? Everybody would agree to that, right? It's not like you're gonna get liberals or people on the left to go, no, for under 10-year-olds, you should show porn in the classrooms. No, nobody thinks that, right? But then they put in a second clause that says, and anything, quote, involving gender identity. But wait a minute, that's completely different. That goes to Anna's point about the kids can't talk about their moms. If one of the teachers is gay, she can't put up a picture of her and her wife. You can't put up a pride flag. And then there's a second layer to it that Anna also read you, which is that it could be that it's not even just for second graders. It's that if a child walks into a room at a college where there's a pride flag, that's it, there's a kid under 10, and you guys talked about LGBT issues or you had a pride flag in the issue in the room, that's it, the university is gonna lose their funding. And what does that do? That intimidates everybody into never discussing gay people's existence.
Sounds pretty totalitarian.
Exactly, this is from the party that claims that they're for freedom of speech. They're complete liars. They don't believe in freedom at all. And then every time that you say no, you should vote no on this bill, what will Republicans and right-wingers do? they'll lie and pretend you mean it about the sexually oriented material.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, I guess Democrats and progressives want to show hardcore porn to first graders.
Yeah, it's like the same thing they did with the drag queen story hour, right? Like they describe it as if you have a drag queen doing lap dances on children. Like that's not what happened, okay? And by the way, if you're uncomfortable with your child being present during drag queen story hour, don't send your kid to drag queen story hour. Like, just don't. Parents should be able to make decisions for their children. And the idea that conservative parents get to be the arbiters of what is and is not acceptable for every parent in the country is literally insane. It's insane. And the opposite of freedom, the very thing that conservatives purport to care the most about. Now, Caballero also writes that, well, actually, let me give you a few more details about the bill. The bill also gives parents the ability to sue in federal court if their child is exposed to the barred material that is funded in whole or in part by federal funds. So they're taking a page out of the alleged fetal heartbeat bill in Texas that effectively bans abortion in the state of Texas. And what they did is they wrote it in a way that would call for vigilantes to like start prying in people's lives. And if they assume that someone is getting an illegal abortion, they can sue the doctor who they suspect or the individual they suspect of helping the woman get an abortion. Now, by the way, as we know, Florida's Don't Say Gay bill has a similar provision. As we've seen with SB 8, the lawsuits are rarely even filed. Simply the threat of litigation, though, is enough to create a chilling effect. And any federally funded entity will remove all references to LGBTQ people as a precaution, just as schools in Florida have done. And this measure was introduced by Mike Johnson, who's a Republican from Louisiana. It was co-sponsored by 32 other Republicans, including Louis Gohmert and Lauren Boebert, who Lauren Boebert has no leg to stand on when it comes to sexually explicit material or sexually explicit body parts shown to underage individuals, considering her husband did that at a busy bar while, he was with her stepdad. Just wanted to remind you guys of all of that. Now, Republicans campaign on this kind of nonsense all the time. And I think it's important to juxtapose them to Democrats and just hold so you understand what I'm referring to. So a majority of Americans, 62%, oppose the Don't Say Gay legislation, barring teaching about sexual orientation or gender identity in elementary schools. Sentiment about Don't Say Gay legislation is relatively uniform across American society, with majorities across age, education, race, or ethnicity and sexual orientation opposed to these prohibitions. The only group with majority support are self-identified Republicans, where you'll find 61% support. Now, you should look at how immensely popular the progressive policy proposals are. So if you look at this is for paid family leave, exactly. A lot of support for that, but it is not what you will see Republicans promoting, and you certainly don't see Democrats fighting for it and calling for a vote on it, even when they're in power and they have the ability to have a floor vote on it.
Yeah, so that's a good juxtaposition because the Republicans here are doing a show vote or a show bill. They have certainly no chance of passing this bill right now. Well, they might if they recapture the House and the Senate, but even then, Biden would veto it. But this is them saying, we hate gay people and we want you to know, because our base shows up for that hate. We're not trying to get independents or Democrats. This is a very unpopular bill. We're trying to get our voters to show up. Now, the Democrats could do something similar, but actually mean it with a paid family leave bill. Enormously popular, about over 80% popularity in the country, including over 70% of Republican voters who love paid family leave. But the Democrats won't do that because they have a much better play. They can even pass it if they wanted, right? The reason the Democrats won't do that is because they don't want to pass it. And so again, the mainstream media will never tell you that. They protect Democrats with their, with everything they've got. So we're fair to both sides, and we're by telling you about how they're both full of crap. Okay, now that doesn't mean they're equally full of crap. So the Democrats never deliver on their promises, but we're worried that the Republicans do.
Yeah.
And so Republicans probably will pass a bill like this, even if Biden vetoes it. By the way, they could bring it back in 2024 if they get the White House, but it still sends a message that gay people are not welcome in this country. I mean, it's just such a terrible, terrible thing to say about your fellow Americans, and then they'll pretend that they're not against gay people. I'm gonna give you one last tweet from Alejandra because she nailed it. She said, "It's so incredibly dehumanizing and hateful for Congress members to draft a bill that would define under federal law who I am as a queer trans woman as being, quote, sexually oriented, as if my very existence is harmful to children. It's disgusting, heinous, and monstrous." That's exactly right. They're trying to say, even if you mention anyone who's in the LGBTQ community, you're doing something that's sexually oriented. Well, why aren't straight people sexually oriented, right? It's nothing but a hate bill, and that's exactly who the Republican Party is. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.